Stampers, how is everyone today? This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here to share kind of an online class with you guys. Every Monday I go live at 2:30 Mountain Time here on my Facebook page, and I always show you some kind of new gift idea, card, whatever. Just something with stamps, ink, and paper, because that's like my happy place. I just love stamping, and I'm blessed enough to call it my job. So my job is to teach you guys how to stamp stress-free, and I appreciate that. As a Stampin' Up demonstrator, the way I support myself with this full-time job is that when you guys buy from me in my online store, that just helps me out greatly. So I really appreciate that. Today we're making this lovely card. I needed to make a wedding card, and so I kind of was going through my old cards, the retired ones that had like passed on. They're still on my Pinterest page, because sometimes there's a layout or there's a fold or there's, you know, an idea I can use even though that stamp set's been retired. And this was one of those occasions. I found a wedding card that I had done probably for my son's wedding, maybe 5 years ago, and I just copied the same fold, and I'm just thrilled with the way it came out. My first instinct was to grab the prized peony and work with that one because that's the designer series paper I chose. But I also want to show you how things can interchange. You can use the prized peony, but today I'm using the Morning Magnolia. And so I'm going to show you how we make this beautiful card. Every single month I have an extra PDF that's like 6 different tutorials that's available to everyone who purchases from me. That's just a thank you for supporting me and my business and a job that I love. So onward, let's get to our card, right? You're all here because you want to see how I put this beautiful card together. And so we're going to do that. Like I said, this is our card. This is what we call a belly band. And this is what's keeping our card closed, is this little piece here. It's just decorative. And then the card opens like this. Isn't that pretty? And very simple to make. That's my favorite kind of card to make, is those ones that have packed kind of a wow, but they're actually easy to make. So I'm going to show you how we do this. We're going to start out with a piece of paper, 5 inches by 11 inches, or actually 5.5 by 11. Sorry about that. I didn't even make good notes for myself. It's 5.5 by 11. And then I'm going to score it at 4 1/4, and then 8 5/8. Now what this gives you is kind of, if you would cut it this way, you would have your standard card base. But because I cut it long ways, we're going to have an extra, say, 2 inches, and that's going to be the flap that we're going to fold over the top. So I just took an 8.5 by 11, cut it at 5.5, scored it 4 1/4, 8 5/8. Normally it would be 8.5, right? 4 1/4 plus 4 1/4, 8.5. But we want to give it a little bit of room so that we're not cramping things when I go to fold over. If it was exactly even, when you went to fold it, it wouldn't be as pretty as it is this way, because it gave you that 1/8 of an inch clearance. Does that make sense? Okay, and then I put it all together the first time around and thought the outside was really boring. So I don't like boring cards. So what I did was I took the Magnolia, and then I used, this is gray granite cardstock, so I took gray granite ink. Hi ladies, thanks for joining me. And then I just stamped on it. This gives me kind of a designer series paper look. Now I did tend to move it around a lot because I don't want it to look repetitive. As you know, it is repetitive, but I don't want it to look, I don't know, too uniform. I want to flip it around and have it be different. And don't be afraid to let it run off the edge of the page. To me, that makes it look much more natural. And this is our largest block that I'm using here. This is the F block, and this is the size of our background stamps. But it works really well for this large magnolia. Let's see, I'm going to go and stamp here. And then there's one blank spot up here, so let's go this way. And don't be don't worry about lining things up, when you're going kind of cockeyed. I will move my paper around and get it to the most comfortable angle. You wouldn't want to be, going too wonky with it. So just turn your paper, nice and easy. Then when I'm all done, I take a piece of this Simply Chamois and clean this off because I am going to use it again. We're going to go back to our inside pieces here. So I have 2 pieces that are 5 1/4 by 4, and I have 2 pieces that are 5 by 3 3/4. These are going to be our inside pieces. Then for the belly band that wraps around, I have a piece that is 1 1/2 by 11. Again, I've scored it at 4 3/8 and 8 3/4. And again, it's just giving it that kind of 1/8 of an inch extra because it's going to go out and around our layers. So it's got to be a little bigger than the layer it's going around, which allows it to slide on and off. So 1 1/2 by 11, scored at 4 3/8, 8 3/4, and then a piece of Designer Series paper I just brought in to go over the top. This piece here is just a scrap piece I had. I think it was 4 inches. 4 1/4 by 4 3/4, just big enough to house the flower. And then we're going to die cut this for the front, and I'll get to use my new die cutting machine. So on the inside, I did this. I just wanted to keep this simple. I didn't really want to do any coloring, but I wanted to have that pretty look to make it look fancy, kind of like a wedding card, right? Wedding cards are fancy. So I took the Petal Pink, which is the color of this cardstock, and I stamped onto our Whisper White pieces. Did you know you can do that? That if you take your ink pads and you just squeeze up here, it pops open? So if you ever have issues like you're going to break a nail trying to open your ink pads that way, just pop them at the top. They pop right open. Okay. And again, I'm using my grid paper as my guideline here. And for catching all of the excess. The grid paper is something you can purchase for yourself to use in your own craft room. It works great for keeping the surfaces clean, using as a measuring tape. Lots of good stuff. You can also make your little wish list over on the side, keep notes. It's just really useful. Okay, on this one I'm going to make it a little smaller because my sentiment is a little bit bigger. We can set that aside. And then I'm going to go back to gray granite and use that for our sentiments. Now this set that I'm using, the Good Morning Magnolia, does have lots of sayings in it, but they weren't really wedding appropriate. And so I picked a different set. The Peaceful Moments. This had congratulations and wishing you every happiness this special day will bring. And I just thought that was really pretty sentiment for a wedding card. So take my gray granite and I'm going to stamp congratulations right on there. So these are just standard layers of 4 by 5 1/4, and then 3 3/4 by 5. I only have the retired corner rounder punch, but if you have that trio punch, the new corner rounder has the corner round and then it has 2 more decorative corners. Those decorative corners I bet would be really pretty to round the corners on this card. Now all we need to do is make our belly band, and really that's just decorative and to keep it closed. You see it kind of pops open. I'm sure if I use my bone folder and give it a little bit of a nudge, it'd stay closed a little more, but we're going to go ahead and make the belly band just because they're pretty. So I scored this piece already, and I could score this one. Because it's so thin, I think it'll wrap around just fine. There it goes. So I'm just going to lay this down the center. I made it a little longer so I can come in and cut off the edge. See, that's why I didn't score them. Did you hear that kind of made a little pop as I bent it over? It kind of stretched a little. Trim off some excess. Now all we need to do is glue this onto itself. Now you can use liquid glue, glue dots, whatever. And I'm going to use tear and tape, just something secure so that it won't fall apart. And like I said, I'm giving it a little bit of room. I don't want it to be really tight flush because I want room for the card to go in and out. And then there's just this piece. So I'm going to bring in our handy dandy die cutting machine with our cute little numbered plates. I'm going to use 1, 2, and 3. Set this down. So there's our Magnolia. And then I went ahead and used my Wink of Stella, which is starting to run out, which reminded me that what I need to do is go grab some rubbing alcohol and add a couple drops of rubbing alcohol down into here. This little piece pops off, and there's going to be a lot of glitter left on the inside. It's just getting kind of thick. And so if you put a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and I'm talking really little, just a couple drops, and then shake it really good, that's going to help get what's left of the glitter inside down to the tip. And you would squeeze and then just color all over. So if you want to make your supplies go a little bit further, you might want to give that a try. Okay, so you can't really see it. I can see it if I like turn this the right way under the lights. Okay, then this is going to just go on the front. And I think I went from the stem to this just because it got me the most coverage. You know, it's going to stick the most through there. And then this is ready to just slide over our card. And so there you go, a beautiful wedding card. And of course you could do this for birthday, whatever. It's just a different fold that's not hard, gives a very different look, and just wanted to share that with you. Of course, these can be found in our catalog and in my online store. We use the Good Morning Magnolia, which is here on page 34, along with the die cutting machine that you can now order. When this catalog first came out, it wasn't quite available yet, but it is now. You can go snag your very own. And I use the Prize Peony paper. And last week I had done a card showing you how to make the flower. So if you haven't seen last week's video, go back and take a peek at that. The Prize Peony is a bundle deal, Again, in this catalog, you have to look for little tiny things. I think they're kind of hidden. But you can save 10% by buying the dies and the stamp set together. Oh, there go the dogs. Thanks for joining me. And I will be back here next Monday at 2:30 right here on Facebook Live. In the meantime, pop on over to the YouTube channel, make sure you're subscribed, and all of these videos end up over there eventually, and they're edited. So thanks for joining me. See you next week. Bye.